And Audacity in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Lynn, and I'm here with my co host, Marissa Roy. And in today's episode, we are going to chat all about our 2024 goals.
Yeah. And maybe some reflections on 2023, some
Yes.
lessons that we learned. And just, I think what I really want to do is make it as educational as possible from our lessons and our goals and things, just giving you guys as much context as possible. But we're kicking off 2024, so making it a little bit personal too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back from our hiatus. This feels so much better. Like I was gonna say this before we got on air, and I was like, ah, what the heck? I'll just wait till after. But I feel like towards the end of 2023, like, could you tell that I was like slightly burnt out and like had no energy to do this whatsoever? Because
No.
I felt that way. Okay, I felt that way. And like every time, there were a lot of things that I was kind of burnt out with, but like I remember especially I just felt really guilty with the podcast because I would come on and I'd be scatterbrained and distracted and I wouldn't be present. And then I would like try to jump into a topic. And yeah, I was just doing my best at the time. So the break was much needed. Hopefully you guys like the throwbacks.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I couldn't tell.
I don't know if that's a good
Maybe I
thing or a
just,
bad thing.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe I just have poor awareness.
No, I mean, yeah, maybe it's just how I felt like internally. Like I think you and I probably both do a good job of like showing up even if when we don't feel like it, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not having a good day.
See, and
I'm
couldn't
just,
tell.
yeah, I'm so frustrated, but it's fine.
I thought you were just annoyed at the microphone.
Nope, nope. Well, my
Oh,
camera, yes, that definitely always.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you didn't already get yourself a Christmas present, you should get a new laptop.
Yeah, that should have
But
been a 2023 purchase.
it can be a 2024 goal that you set and knock off right away.
Yes.
Anyways, I am excited to hear about your goals. Obviously, there's different categories of goals that we typically set. But I mean, are you typically like a very energized, like, I love the beginning of the year type of person, or are you kind of more like on the jaded side, or where do you fall?
I love the beginning of the year. I think it's a fresh start, and I know that everyone poo-poos on it. Like, why do you have to wait until January to start your goals? And so I don't necessarily think it's the time to start your goals, but I think it's a really good time to reflect and establish new goals. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always goal setting. I'm always chasing after things. So 2024 to me is just like it's just a new calendar year.
Yeah.
So, and for me, like too, if you're setting like health and fitness goals, if you feel energized, like use it, like
Yeah.
use whatever momentum that you have, like regardless of what anyone says. So I know that there's a lot of, statistics about New Year's resolutions, and I think that they fail for a number of reasons, not necessarily like just because it's like, oh, a goal, but
Yeah.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so. But yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I think it's such good energy. I love the energy. And like you said, it's like you don't need to wait to start, but like you can always like hit an extra reset or like kind of just mentally clean your slate a little bit. And it could be really refreshing mentally to just know like it's a new year. I'm setting new goals and yeah, it's nothing special, but I mean, if you really zoom out, right? Like people just use statistics for everything. They say 99% of all diets fail, any time of year. So how is the new year any different? It's like I don't think the statistics would actually show. I mean, maybe they do that it's that much worse in the new year, but even if they do, I think there's, like you said, a lot of reasons. And ultimately, I think it's good energy. Something I talked about the other day was that even if there's good energy, sometimes it's just mischanneled, right? And we think we
Mm.
have to do everything immediately all the time. And I think that's where we go wrong, right? Is like I'm trying to do all of it at once and I have no patience with my goals. And that's why we burn out and we quit. So maybe it's just the fact that there's so much of that energy that causes people to fail and on their face, like after trying too hard too soon. So I mean, hopefully from some of our goals, I know that for me, this is the first year that I've kind of shifted how I set these goals, and hopefully we'll give some insight into like how to set sustainable goals for a year. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. And I think yeah, it's like with diets, it's like, I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. And like, it's just this big thing. And you're kind of just setting yourself up for failure. And I know we've talked about this in past episodes, but kind of like really setting like process versus outcome goals, right? I
yeah.
think that's really important. And a lot of people are trying to like set their goal on what they want rather than trying to break it down and be like, okay, but what do I need to do to actually get there? And those are the things that we need to really reflect on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you are in the process of going after those goals, it's a matter of really finding fulfillment in those steps in the process that's going to make it stick. I actually had a
Mhm.
client, we were talking about her timeline for 2024, and this will be the last year that we work together, you know, all if all goes according to plan. And we've been working together for a while. So that was kind of sad. But I was like, nope, this is it. This is what we're gonna do. Um, and she had a kind of thought of like, what if I don't like the way that my body looks when I hit my goal weight? And I was like, that is very likely and possible and will most likely be the case because that work is ongoing. We're doing it right now. It's like, it's not like you hit a number, you hit a goal, and your mindset immediately shifts. It's that you learn how to shift your mindset through the process of working towards the goal, and then when you get there, it's like, cool, check the box, but that's not really where the gratification came from in the first place, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, do you want to go first?
I just feel like you did so much more this year. And I feel like as far as like 2023, I feel like, I mean, obviously from the outside looking in, like you had a huge physical transformation, but I know that that made a lot of huge mental transformations for you as well. So I really want to hear about that.
Okay. Well, don't downplay yourself because I think like until yeah, you've announced getting pregnant. Yes. Until getting
Not on the
pregnant again.
podcast, right?
Yeah, you did
Have I?
first before everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess it feels like we haven't podcasted in like months.
Well, we haven't.
So I guess, yeah.
But you did. I remember you dropped it on the podcast. Like you didn't tell me before, you just dropped it on the podcast. And I was like, whoa. Um,
No, I told you after a Zoom call. I was just like, hey, by the way,
oh, yeah,
see you
yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. No, and then no, what happened was I forgot. And then on the podcast you mentioned it and I was like, what the F? And then you were like, Marissa, I told you. So yeah. So don't downplay yourself though, because I think until you obviously had to switch directions for an obvious and justifiable reason,
Oh,
you
yeah.
also had a crazy, awesome physical transformation too. But I will go first per your request.
Yes.
So reflecting on 2023, eh? All right. So it was a really great year as a whole. I don't know. Like I see the reels and the like Instagram shorts and whatever that are like, the ones that say like 2021 crushed me, 2022 I healed, 2023 I'm getting after it or something like that. And it's always the same thing, but they just switch the years out every year.
Hmm.
Uh, so I see those and I really struggle to relate to those. And I'm very grateful for that because I don't feel like there was a year where I was broken down and had to heal from things, which I think there will probably come a year where that's the case, but this was not that. Um, I feel like through the feedback that I've gotten, actually, I got this feedback yesterday that still kind of like perplexes me, but I'm grateful for as well, is through the back half of this year, I think it coincides with my physical transformation. A lot of people that I don't see often. So, like when we go to mentorship retreats, or I see family that I haven't seen in months, or just people that I don't see on a regular day by day basis, I've gotten a lot of feedback that I've just become more confident and like self assured in me. Like the feedback is always like, you seem a lot more chill lately. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, was I spastic before? Like, what, what was that? But I think the feedback in general is it seems like I'm more confident in myself.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, that's like the best feedback you can get, right? It's like you're just giving off this like grounded, calm energy, confident. I don't know what I did to do that. I've just been working on myself, but
Mhm.
happy that that's the case. And I think the physical side of it was, I mean, long story short, and I've told this a few times on the podcast before, but just for anyone who might be new listening, I spent most of 2021, 2022 just solely focused on scaling the business and learning that and building that skill. And in an unbalanced way, really just deprioritizing health and fitness and kind of just using it to not gain weight and just get by. And it was kind of just a burden, and I would skip it all the time. And I wasn't really connected to my values of why it was important to me. And 2023, the first quarter of it, probably the first month, I came in with hot intentions. I was like, this is going to be the year that I get this shit together. Like, that's the energy we come in with, right? And so I
Mhm.
kind of made the rookie mistake of going in really hot. Like, I cold plunged outside every day in January last year with a like blow up $100 tub from Amazon and hose water. And so the reason I stopped was because my skin didn't like that after a little while. So I was like breaking out and the water was dirty. And I was like, this is disgusting. I can't do this anymore. Um, so I went out hot, like all those kinds of things, right? Trying to be like strict on like macro tracking and dieting and all this. And I started like 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 fat loss phases in the first half of the year,
Mm.
all with basically zero follow through. Like some of them I made it 2 days, some of them I'd make it half a week, but some of them I made it a couple weeks, but I never really committed.
And
And
you were working with Cody at the time?
no, this is like just myself.
Oh, just by
This
yourself.
is, yeah,
Okay.
first half of the year, I was just like, I'm going to get my shit together. I'm going to be self coached. And, you know, I felt like all my posts that I was making every time I would come back around was like, this is the time. I've broken all my promises. This is the time. And I was just getting really sick of that narrative because you know, it's like you start to repeat a pattern and you're like, can I get out of this? Like, is this just the pattern? Can I no longer follow through on what I say I'm going to do? And I was like, no, this can't be it. So it was like August when I hired Cody, my coach now, and that was the first step, was like recruiting support, putting money into it, putting my back against the wall with that. It was more money than I've ever spent on a fitness coach before. So that was helpful. It got the ball rolling, but it really wasn't until a few months into that that I was able to like really get to a place where I was dialed in. So like ever since I hired him, it was like it was improvements, but I wasn't hitting the target. So like I had macros. Let's say my fat was like 50 grams per day or something, and started with him. First couple of weeks I was at like 70 a day, and I was like, well, I'm tracking it, that's progress. I was kind of giving myself the grace that I would give our clients, even though he's a little bit more like cut and dry with things. But I
Mhm.
was just giving myself grace and patience. I was like, I'll get there. Like, let's get down to like 60 this week or like 55. And I kind of like slowly dialed it in, got like my meal prep habits back in check, started to develop nighttime morning routines a little bit better. It took a while. And so it took like a good 4 or 5 months to get to a place where I was like, this is what I envisioned jumping to in about a week's time. But it took probably 5 or 6 months to actually build all the habits that are behind something that seems as simple as hitting macros and getting my training in. It's like, no, within that is like scheduling, you know, being able to say no to things, have space in your schedule to go to the gym, go to bed on time, wake up on time, have a meal prep routine so you have food ready, have the backups to that, have the snacks ready in case you need it. Like those are all little processes that we don't think are going to be a part of that process. So 6 months in, I have lost, I think I was probably around like 148, and I'm right now like 140 flat. Like I broke into the 139s a couple times, and that was the plateau that I was like, I don't know if I can get there. I hadn't seen anything below 140 in probably 5 or 6 years. So was proud of that. Now I'm like post holidays, bounce back up to like 141. Now I'm back to 140. And so the next goal is through January, dip into the mid 130s, and then I'll be done with the cut.
Mm.
So physical transformation, really happy about it. I just feel like less puffy, like really athletic, like lean, just feels good to like jump into anything. Like I can go on a run, I can jump into a CrossFit WOD, I could do a heavy lift, and none of them wreck me the way that they would have 6 months ago. So that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's really interesting just we are health and fitness professionals. We do this for a living. And it's not that we don't know how to do it. It's just the accountability plays such a big role in your health and fitness goals, and throwing money behind it too makes it like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's also really interesting too that even with all that, it still took you a while to kind of like find that rhythm again and get back into that routine. But I feel like once that happens, it's kind of like, oh, okay, now this is a little bit easier, and that progress just starts to naturally happen.
Yeah. I would say anytime, actually, like you asked about the coaching clinic that I host now. So once a week, I'm actually coaching other coaches on stuff. And a lot of times, like we come across clients or ourselves where we've made some sort of progress before and then we've backtracked and we're trying to get back to where we were so that we can go beyond it. And that getting back to where you were part is always the hardest because you're seeing where you know you've been before, where you know you can be, and you're not immediately there yet. And you think something's wrong with you for that reason. So I think the key to all of that was giving myself the patience and the forgiveness through the process, which I learned
Mm.
from my staff coaches on my team are really good at teaching that. So I kind of learned through what they teach how to do that for myself. And I think that was the thing that brought me to like being able to be successful without just so much self-sabotage in the process. There was still some, but with less. So then 2024, the fitness goals that I'm actually going to try to put together a post today. So I think Instagram will find this out first, probably, but uh, I will be kind of taking it to the next level. So, for context, where I was at the beginning of 2023 or when I was breaking promises to myself, like I still was, I just want to make this very clear. Like, I'm not saying I was unhealthy or anything like that. Like, generally, outside looking in, still a great example of balance, health, and fitness. It just was not the standard that I personally want to hold myself to and should as a leader of a fitness company. So I just think that it's same problems but relative intensity. So you don't need to do what I'm doing. But with that being said, for 2024, I want to take it to the next level and I will be competing in one, two, three CrossFit competitions as of right now.
Mm.
So we have one in April, early April. So that's a co-ed partner one. It'll be in the intermediate division, which is like in between super scaled, like easy stuff, and RX, which is like the standard. And that'll be the first one doing it with a friend. And the second one will be a in-house team competition. So like I'll only do one or two events. It's supposed to be super fun. But we think we can win it with the team that we have. So we're going to try to win it. And then the third one is a partners women's competition called Goddess Games. And my goal is
Mhm.
to compete in the RX division, which requires a lot of gymnastic skills that I currently don't have, like
Interesting.
doing a muscle up, um, doing handstand walks, uh, strict handstand push-ups, being able to snatch certain amounts of weight. Yeah, so stuff that I cannot currently do, but I've got some good people in my corner, so we'll see what we can do. I have at least 6 months until then. That's not till like July. So that, and then definitely want to play some competitive grass volleyball tournaments with my husband, Aaron. So mainly just seeing what my body can do this year now that I'm like, okay, health and fitness is a huge priority again. I feel really good. I feel motivated. I feel connected to why I love training. And now I'm like, I want to train for something that could actually show me weaknesses. And that's what CrossFit's meant to do. It's meant to show you, okay, you're supposed to be very well rounded. You're supposed to be able to do everything. CrossFit will kind of unearth where you're weak versus if I were to do bodybuilding or that's like hide your weaknesses, right? And or if I were to do volleyball, it's like that's not really a challenge because I can kind of just pick that up whenever. Like I I don't think that would like really show me my weak spots as much. So want to go that direction and humble myself a bit.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because that's actually the first time that I mean, I knew what you're doing, but that's the first time I've heard the extent of it. So that's really
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we
Awesome.
haven't hit our friend KPI, but
No,
that's
we've
the
been bad.
plan. But what about you? So reflections on 2023 and what are your 2024 fitness goals?
Yeah, so when it comes to fitness, I was actually trying to look back. So obviously, postpartum in 2021, I lost a majority of the weight. And I'm trying to recall what I was at in January. And so I think I was right around like 140, 138, like kind of hovering. Oh, for whatever reason, I was 140 on December 31st, but I had kind of been like 130, about 138. So I got down to, I think my lowest was like 129, 128. So I lost about 10 pounds, which doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot,
It was
but
noticeable.
yeah, like I mean, and the thing is too, like postpartum, like you just look a lot different than you did previously. So while I had got down to like actually below pre-pregnancy, I just didn't look the same. I just have lost a little bit of muscle, so my glutes aren't as like perky and big. Um, so I know that the scale, again, like I'd rather have been a little bit heavier, but had more muscle.
Yeah.
So I was happy kind of getting down to that weight. And then it was kind of like, well, I'm either gonna like try to compete or we're gonna try to get pregnant. And it was just kind of like whatever we felt, which I know it's like two complete opposites. But we just kind of felt like we were ready to try again. So we did. And um I don't remember if I said this on the podcast or not, because I feel like it's just been a long time, but we got pregnant in August and then we miscarried. And that was really difficult. But then we got pregnant again in September. We found out, I guess, September. And then we found out October 1st that we were pregnant. Um, but yeah, so then my body has started to trend in the opposite direction. And that's been really tough. Like, but for whatever reason, this pregnancy, I'm just kind of more accepting. And I also think it's because I just don't have a lot of time to think about being pregnant because I have a toddler. So there are times where like I'll go to like hug my husband and I'm like, oh yeah, like
There's a
my
thing
belly
there.
touches, yeah, my belly touches you first. So it's just been interesting and like there's nothing that you can really do as far as like what your body is going to do to make a baby. So I've just been more accepting and just kind of been like, whatever. Like I know that I'm showing like so well, I didn't show for a little while and then all of a sudden I was like, boom, like pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, and like like on your second, on your multiple pregnancies, like your uterus has already like expanded, right? Like it already like
Yeah.
knows what to do. And so you do tend to show a lot earlier, which has been very true. And I have someone on my team who is 4 weeks ahead of me. So we found out around the same time before I miscarried, which in hindsight, because it's just going to be better for like our team. We're like a
Yeah.
month apart. But she is not like anywhere near, and she's 4 weeks ahead of me. And so I feel like if this had been my first pregnancy, it would have been very like different. But now I'm just like, it's just like I'm in
Yeah.
my second pregnancy. It's like whatever. So I've been more accepting, which is great. But the feeling that I get and I have to work through constantly is going to the gym because I know that it's good for me. I know it's great for my baby and like it's just good for health purposes, but it feels like what's the point? Like
Hmm.
what's the point of doing this because I'm just getting, larger. Like I'm not going to be losing weight like, so it can be really frustrating. And you're not really necessarily hitting PRs, so it is really difficult to kind of go in and feel like you're just kind of like going through the motions. But again, just kind of having to recognize like this is still really great. this is
Yeah.
like what I'm doing is really good. Like, and, getting up and being active, like trying to hit, 8 to 10,000 steps a day, which is more than I was doing in my first pregnancy. So I am doing things better, but it's still definitely a mental battle when I go to the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Because last time you were pregnant, like, didn't you kind of have a scare that made you not want to lift at all?
Yeah, yeah. So at 14 weeks, we, my husband got a elk, and so I met him and I helped him pack out. And for anyone that doesn't know those terms, like he was harvesting the meat and you put it in your backpack and you hike back to camp to take the meat home. I had like 25 pounds in my backpack. So like I think I can't even remember what I was carrying, but it was like 25 pounds. It wasn't anything abnormal. Like it was just, and then we hiked a mile in, hiked a mile out. I didn't think anything of it. And then the next day we woke up, or I guess that evening I had some bleeding and we went to the ER and they said everything was fine, but it was just like acute trauma, I guess, or acute something. Um, and they didn't tell me like you can't do anything, you're on bed rest, but me internally, I was like, I don't want to do anything that could jeopardize this
Mhm.
pregnancy. So that was really difficult. And in hindsight, I probably could have, done some things, like it could have even done like prenatal yoga, or I could have just done like body weight stuff. But I think what's really difficult, and I don't know if you feel this, but coming from the background that we have with bodybuilding and just the journey that we have with fitness, that like feeling like, well, what is a session of body weight exercises going to do? Like,
Yeah.
what is yoga going to do? It just kind of just feels like there's no real like purpose. This isn't going to do anything. So I definitely fell into that mentality of, well, I'm just not going to do anything at all, which is so silly. Like looking back
Mhm.
on it, I see that and I recognize it. And I can't do anything to change that. So I'm kind of taking that energy into now. It's like, okay, well, maybe I can't get in a full gym session, but I'll do yoga or I'll just do some stuff around the house with Colton, so I don't know if you feel that way at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I will still have that tendency probably for a while. I feel like this phase right now that I'm in is probably the first time that I'm starting to break that down similar to you. So for different reasons though, right? For you, it's for pregnancy. And like that is all you can do
Yeah.
for a lot of times. For me, it's I think just connecting to the love of training and like just wanting to move my body every day. So that like for example for today we have family in town and not going to be able to get to the gym or do a lift or anything. But I think because I've kind of been very multimodal lately, like I've been running, doing CrossFit, doing lifting, and lifting has been like the majority, but sprinkling that other stuff in kind of like makes it easier for me to be like, well, I'll just do this quick, like 12-minute AMRAP of circuit exercises, and that'll be my thing for the day. Or, I'll just do this quick little yoga thing because I need it because I'm training pretty hard and my hips are tight. So I think it's like forced me out of that mindset because I am being so like functional, multimodal, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, so I don't know if I necessarily really have a reflection because I feel like I've just went in one direction and then I've swung back in the other. So,
Yeah.
I actually went into 2023 and went out at the same weight technically. So I like lost 10 to 11 pounds and then I regained. So,
Yeah. But you're also like, I feel like just the mindset on this journey with this pregnancy is so different. So different, which is it shows a lot of growth, which is really cool. So, I
yeah.
mean, obviously you're gonna deliver in 2024, but like what are your intentions for fitness around the whole year?
Yeah, so I want to continue to go to the gym. Even like fighting those, like, what's the point? And I know, like obviously there is a point, but it just
Yeah.
kind of feels like we're going backwards. But going to the gym, and I think the biggest thing for me is like once I get to the gym, like I feel great and I'm like, I love this. I love doing this. Even if I'm pregnant, like it's just fun to do. I still don't like training legs, but um it's just something that I enjoy doing. So keeping that in mind, regardless of how I'm feeling like physically, to try to just do it a certain amount of times per week because I know how beneficial it's going to be. And it's going to just make sure that I'm in a better spot postpartum, but not just that, but also going through labor and delivery. So, the plan is to deliver naturally again. So that is the goal.
Well, you did it
Um,
once, so you
yeah, I did
can
it
probably do it
once.
again.
I probably could. And so I want to be even more intentional than I was previously about labor prep. So, just having a actual program that I'm following. So, and I guess I should also mention too, like this time I'm with a coach. So I definitely have that extra layer of accountability. So it's so silly. I take my progress photos every Monday and I send them in and like, just like, and the way that my coach has us send progress photos is he has you send your starting photo versus your current one.
Nice.
And so for a while, for the first couple weeks, I was doing my starting photo, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I switched it to like my pregnancy starting photo. Um, but yeah, I have a very, very, very visible bump now. So it's just interesting to feel like we're moving in the wrong direction. Like that's just I have to like retrain my brain because I'm like, no, the before goes on the left, and it's like, oh, that is it is the before. Um, but yeah, so having that makes a really big difference because like if I just check in with myself and I'm like, oh, I didn't go to the gym, I didn't train this week, but oh, you had a hard week and like you tried to lift, but Colton was having a bad day. It's just, you can say that to yourself and then it's like, well, then 1 week and then turn into 2 weeks and then to three. And then you're like, ah, shit, I haven't done anything. But when you tell like someone else that, it's just it's just different. It's just
Yeah.
so different. You don't want to let them down. So I have been better about lifting and just being more active in general. And I mean, of course, I don't know if those two things are correlated. Aside from just super random bouts of like nausea slash like dry heaving, I feel great. So I don't feel pregnant at all. And this could also just be like second trimester energy, right? Where I just feel really good. My feet don't hurt. Like I just don't feel pregnant outside of having a belly. So I have no idea if that has anything to do with like how I'm handling nutrition this time around, how I'm handling just being a little bit more active. I mean, I have the walking pad that's made a really big difference. So, in the cold weather, I'm not like, oh, we'll just do this little quick mile around this,
Yeah.
versus like I can be a little bit more intentional. And so I want to continue doing those things. And then when it comes to postpartum, I want to give myself a lot of grace. And really like a lot of people are just like biting at the chomps to like get back into working out. And that's not, I mean, I was a tiny bit, but I also just was really present and like soaking in those moments with a newborn. And so I feel very confident that I'll be able to do that again.
Mhm.
But I am going to follow our postpartum rehab that we have our clients do. So I have just a few things that I'll be doing a little bit differently, that I'm hoping will kind of make that postpartum journey a little bit easier for me. Um, I'm not planning on gaining 55 pounds this time. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? Like I've
Yeah.
heard some women, it's like, well, I've done all the extremes and I've still gained the same weight every single time, but we'll see. So, postpartum, I mean, I really do want to get back into lifting weights and like lifting heavier, but I'm also now going to have a toddler and a newborn. So I just I don't know. I don't know how to navigate that. It's really hard with like all the unknown. So I don't really have like a specific goal. Like I didn't know, like when I was trying to think about it, I was like, I don't really know how to plan for that.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that like the energy you have about at least the pregnant to like to postpartum part is there's so much less of just the fears of the unknowns, right? Because you're able to train, like you're able to like you have acceptance with your body throughout. And it doesn't mean that it's not still difficult, but it's just like you've been through it once. So you at least know up to the point where you have two kids that exist what's kind of roughly what to expect, which I
Yeah.
think just alleviates so much like, yeah, just what ifs and, the fears that kind of prevent us from handling things the way that you ideally want to. And it sounds very much more in alignment with how you like want to handle a pregnancy. It's like it's going through the way that you are planning it to currently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited. This is so silly, but in March, when Colton turns 2, it's wild to say that I have a 2-year-old. But
Yeah.
I will be able to enroll him in childcare at my gym. So I have
Ooh.
up to 2 hours every single day that I can take him to the gym and work out. And if I don't work out, I will maybe just bring my laptop and do a little work and take advantage of
Yeah.
that childcare. But yeah, so it's again, it's kind of silly, but I am just really looking forward to that because like when I am here with him, like especially in the winter, like it's really cold in the garage and he gets really fussy, so I can't really get in a whole lot of anything. And then I just don't have that capability to take him or to like go into our home gym, which is so silly because it's like at home. But it
Yeah.
just doesn't work. So I'm excited for that because it's like he'll be able to like socialize with other kids and then I'll get my time. And I mean, because that's the other thing. It's like when I get back from the gym, I feel great. Like I just feel so good. I'm like, I'm taking care of myself. So I know that and this is what we tell our clients, like, you're going to just be a better mom. You're going to be a better wife. You're going to be a better overall person. Even if it feels like it may not be doing anything, like it really is. And so kind of like you said, getting back into the love of training. So even though I'll be like, what, 6 or 7 months pregnant at that time, like I'm still really looking forward to having that, like the consistency. I think that's the big thing for me is like I can consistently go to the gym on our time and it's like it'll be fine.
Yeah. Are you still doing pull-ups?
No.
Is that not a thing?
Um,
Or is it
I
just
have
harder?
there is so much more abdominal pressure when you're pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you think about doing a pull-up and how you brace your core.
Yeah.
Um, I have seen some women do it, and if they don't feel that pressure or I don't know. I don't know what, but for me personally, like I stopped doing it I think right around like 12 weeks.
Okay. I was just
Like
curious because it would be like a weighted
yeah.
pull-up.
Yeah, but just like the internal pressure is just like I can't remember but I tried doing it and I was like, whoa, like it just feels so different.
Yeah, you have to brace a
So,
lot, so that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah. So I just decided I was like, oh, I no longer want to do these right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Do we
Well,
want to talk business at all? Or I feel like that's just like a separate.
it's a big rabbit hole.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
should do
Yeah.
a 2023 lessons and goals for
Mm,
the for
yeah.
that. But for
Yeah.
fitness, I feel like that pretty well covers it.
Yeah. I'm curious though, are you doing anything, maybe not business related or fitness related, but anything just like, have you set any big goals or resolutions or anything that you've changed since 2024?
Yeah, I have it on notes on my phone. So I have a bunch of intentions so that's what I kind of said earlier is like I just changed the way that I set my goals like last year, 2022, or not 20, oh my God, 2023. I had a list that was like, I'm going to speak at this many speaking engagements. I'm going to read this many books. I'm going to, like, there were boxes to check that didn't actually make sense in the grand scheme of things. So this year it's all just intentions. So I mean, out this is work-ish related, but like creating space in my schedule and not just equating busy to productive because I need creativity in this phase of business. Just being intentional with where we travel and how much we say yes to, because 2023 was a big yes year of I'll go here, I'll go there, I'll travel every other weekend, and we don't want that this year. So, quality of time over length of time with Aaron and our marriage. So, like, we could spend 4 hours sitting next to each other on the couch watching a show, but we don't talk. So why don't we just use the 30 minutes we have during lunch break to like have a quality conversation? So stuff like that. Building some of our personal savings, uh, and building our friendships and relationships here in North Carolina. We've started to set a really good base for that. And yeah, it's like, yeah, we have good people around us. So we just want to foster those and
Yeah.
have better relationships outside of the fitness business space.
Oh, I'm out. Ins and out of 2024, I'm out.
I mean, keeping those, but adding home friend non-business relationships is
Yeah,
probably essential.
I love that. So I did something similar. So I didn't really necessarily sit down and plan out these like big lofty goals like when it was January 1st, but like you said, it was kind of more intentional, and that's why I really liked the in and out trend. I thought
Yeah.
that that was really good, and so I did for my like I guess my I'll do my outs first. So my outs were self-doubt, hitting the snooze, which is
Yeah.
really hard because I'm pregnant. And so I don't know if like, am I tired because I'm making a human, or am I just being lazy? So it's really, really hard to like,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I'm trying to make sure I get like a certain amount of sleep. But perfectionism, comparing myself to others, mindless scrolling, cluttered spaces, expecting immediate results, procrastination and putting off tasks, fear of failure, staying up too late and having screen time at night, worrying about things I can't control, and basing my self-worth on appearance or my business success. So those were my outs. And my ins were why not me energy, being intentional with my time. So, very similar to what you were saying. Living in the present, taking risks, and being open to change. Gratitude, early mornings, organized space, tools, and processes. That's really big because I'm, again, going into having two children, giving birth, postpartum. Business needs to be in a really good spot.
Yep.
um, Giving myself and others grace, spending more time in nature, consistency, abundance mentality, having a wind down routine, and life experiences. So those have been my ins and outs, and I really like it. And I have been doing my like daily kind of goal this year is like, which I did a pretty good job, but I want to want to do this every single day, is the night before create my to-do list for the next day and have a daily, not necessarily like gratitude, but just kind of like my three highlights. So, and it
Yeah.
can be gratitude. So I'm 3 for 3 so far. So,
Nice.
so far doing good, but that's kind of like how I'm getting to my goals, right? Like I have like a declutter on my list, and it's not like declutter the house. It's like just like a little space. Even if it's
Yeah.
just one cabinet, I'm like, cool, that means I can do the next cabinet the next day. And that helps me just feel less overwhelmed. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it, like it's happening, like I'm in the process more than it having this be this big daunting goal that I'm like never going to tackle because it seems like how do I even start? So I've just been doing like little tiny things like that here and there, and it's made a big difference.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And environment makes such a big difference. Like anytime the kitchen's messy, I'm like, ugh, I'm anxious. So
Yep. Yeah, and like the longer you've lived somewhere, like the more stuff that
more
just kind
shit
of,
piles up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that just accumulates. So like, and it's so funny because like my brother and I are like for our parents every year, we're like, oh my God, what do we get them for their birthday? What do we get them for Christmas? And it's like we've just had to get them like more experiences than stuff. And that's kind
Yeah.
of how we feel too now. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't want more stuff. Like, which I know it's hard because like when you're trying to gift someone something, you want to give them something, but um
Yeah.
yeah, so kind of leaning more towards those experiences. But yeah,
Yeah. Love it.
yeah.
Sweet.
All righty, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can find both of us on Instagram. You can find me at Christy Lynn Fit, and Marissa is at Marissa Roy Fitness. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you back next week.